Welcome to the Lightwork Women podcast. We are experienced women with credibility. We know what life is like. Transform your life with our top-tier psychic and wellness services. We offer effective solutions tailored to empower you on your journey to spiritual wellness. In this podcast series, we talk about tarot, mediumship, Reiki, mental health, magic, witchcraft, and much, much more. We hope you enjoy our show. Please get a cuppa, have a seat, have a listen. And just remember, many hands make light work.
Well, hi everyone. Thanks for joining us. This is Sara, Robyn and Karen. We're from Lightwork Women and we're here to have a bit of a chat about weaving the goddess. So, Robyn, do you want to take us off?
Of course I do. It's a subject that's dear to my heart. Look, I was thinking, well, why the goddess? An interesting point when you think back to why you started a long time ago. And it's sort of like, to me, it's that beautiful archetypical work that we can do, that archetypal energy. And for me, it was enabling me to put aspects of myself outside of myself. So it enabled me to own what I didn't really want to own. And I love that because that gave me the key to actually knowing myself. While I was avoiding it, it just wasn't happening, you know. So to me, and I mean, even the tarot and astrology, they're all archetypal as well. So it's like it's just a multi-layer in this beautiful group that we've got.
Yeah.
So it's like the goddess enabled me to explore, and probably more prominent for me, I guess, would be the Greek goddesses that enabled me to sort of create a trip to Greece with women. And so doing all this work with women, to me, just buzzes me, lights me up. It's just beautiful. I wanted to talk a little bit about Venus today because she's often brought up when I'm around. And I think I really connect with her beautiful energy. She is the goddess, yes, of love and beauty, as everybody knows, or most people know. And she's also the goddess of sensuality and creativity and so much more. For me, it was like, well, I had many years as a woman that I didn't really know. I didn't know who I was. I was disconnected from who I was. I was disconnected from my body. And I just thought, you know, there was self-loathing. And I think one of the biggest things was the imbalance of the masculine and the feminine. So that's why I'm really big on the divine feminine or the sacred feminine, because it has enabled me to put everything back into perspective. Because I sort of felt like I was very much in my masculine, which is really interesting because I had a lot of Venusian energy running, which we know she can have the masculine as well. So I think one of the things with her, and I thought, well, why was I connected to Venus? You know, and I was connected to Venus because, well, I'm a Taurus, so she is, you know, ruling Taurus and Libra. And so it was no surprise, but it was just like, it took me a while to learn all this because I had no idea. She's very good with the magic and the transformation as well. So there's aspects to her that sort of we don't talk about as much. But I think for me, her biggest thing is she loves pleasure. She just loves pleasure. And anyone who's out there as a Taurus would know we love the senses. So, you know, if you've got cushions on your lounge, you'll find yourself with a cushion in your lap playing with the texture. It's just the way we are. And that's a very Venusian energy. So for me, the senses were heightened. So how does that fit with who I am and my sensuality? It's like it was all external for me. My pleasure was external. And then that can happen, you know, with Venus. She seeks love. She wants love. When she's young, she wants love. And she doesn't necessarily want commitment. She just wants that love feeling, that pleasure, the fun. It's like a drug. It's like she wants even money. She wants all these things. So when we're not in balance, we can have an overuse of all these things. So what I found really interesting was when we look at women who have had multiple relationships, and we look at women who can get extremely jealous, which is another goddess, which we won't tap into at this point in time. But when we look at that, they're both okay. They're both aspects of us as women. So the Venusian energy, you know, the energy where she's like, I'm walking in the room, I'm rocking it. It's like, you know, that's okay. But what tends to happen as women, we can bring each other down. So the Venusian energy can get pulled out from under the rug. And we get this right and wrong attitude, and we get all these things. So then we start that judgment. You know, we judge ourselves. And I was the biggest critic on earth for myself. I don't know about you girls, but it's like, if anyone's going to bring me down, don't worry about it. I'll do it myself. Like, yep. So I think with that, when she's looking for those things, that pleasure, as we start to become accustomed and understanding her energy, we can feel that sense of peace. And here we go. There's that beautiful Venusian energy. So what I'd like you to do now is just take a deep breath in.
Yep.
And breathe out. And when you breathe out, feel that. That is Venus. That beautiful, that is Venus. The out-breath, the stillness, the peace. When we walk outside and we look at that gorgeous sunrise, that is Venusian. Nothing can take that away. So it's like when we start to learn about ourselves and we stop judging and we realise that we're all perfect as we are, we can get so much more in touch with that. I love it. I could talk about this forever, you know, girls. For me, it's about, what do you value in life? What's important to you? What do you magnetise? Now, this is really interesting. You know, if you're magnetising the wrong thing, you're going to get the wrong thing in you know, apostrophes. It's a judgment. But it's like Renee when she created this group. She magnetised all of us. She magnetised the right people to come toward her. That's a beautiful energy based on her values or what she believes, or, you know. So there it all is in practice, you know. So I guess for me, it's looking at that attracting principle. What do you want to attract in your life? There's your beautiful Venusian energy. Your joy has to come from within. The pleasure comes from within. And that's when Venus sings her song, really sings her song. But having said that, if a woman walks in a room and looks stunning, and it's like, oh my God, what is she? She is confident. She's confident. That is Venus. She's in her confidence. It doesn't matter about anybody else. She's owning herself. Yeah. So the judgment around that can come, of course. Women can be like, oh. And you know, when you see women and men together, and a Venusian person is interesting, and they like to learn, and they like to know about people. They like that. They get pleasure out of listening, and they get pleasure out of all that they're involved in. So they start talking to everyone. So they've got conversation, haven't they? You've got everyone's attention. And it's like, but for some people that is like, whoa, back off. She's too on. What's she doing here, talking to him, or what's she doing? It's like, so it's not making any of it wrong, but it's understanding it. And the archetypes for me has helped me understand all of that play out. Where did I fit in this whole picture? And where do we fit in this picture? So I had the a Venus Awakening workshop, and I do that with people so they can look at where Venus is in their astrological chart. Now, I'm not going to go into all that, but the beauty of that is you can understand where you come from with that, so it makes it much more personal.
Oh, I'm going to go and look at my chart now after we've chatted.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a great idea, because that's what I did, and I went, oh, shite. And I went, that's why I'm like that. Like, that's why I do that. And it's like, you can laugh at it. We can sit here today, we're talking about different goddesses, and we can laugh at it. We can understand it. We can know it. And I think that's the key. It's like, all right. So we don't really need the overindulgence, but it takes a lot to learn that. It takes a lot to learn that all of that is not external. And do we always have it mastered? No, we don't. But that gorgeous energy for me is just like showing your confidence. So having said that, you girls know I've just stepped into my boudoir photography, and to me, how's that for Venusian? That's
Yeah.
Perfect.
yeah, that's the sensuality. But that's my gift in helping women see all aspects of themselves. You know, every woman is goddamn beautiful, but sometimes you just can't see it. Sometimes she's had so much impacting on her. We know women have had experiences that can you know, make it difficult to overcome that. But it's like when we get into that mode and we let go, it is just like one of the biggest gifts.
Mm.
Okay, so I think that's probably all I need to talk about. I just wanted to say this is a big subject. I could have gone on forever.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to show you how I apply the archetypes, and specifically Venus, how I applied her to in getting to know who I am. And I finally moved from what I thought was masculine. It probably wasn't actually. It was probably Venus in balance in some forms, but there was a lot of masculine energy in it. And so it was like that helped me come back. And now it's like I make no apologies for who I am. And I make no apologies for supporting women in who they are. So how about it, ladies? Let's do it. Yay, come on, women.
I love that. I love the different archetypes in women. I've taken a slightly different approach to you, Robyn, but I've run goddess workshops where we've looked at there's questionnaires that people have devised in the past, you know, that you can get women to do, and it can look at whether you've got Venus, Juno, Athena, or I'm losing Artemis or Demeter as your main goddess, and they work out the percentages of all those things, and then it's the one that comes out the strongest. And for me, Venus came out strongest of those ones, and Juno came out least strongest, which really what I thought was so funny, because I've got Venus with my North Node in my chart, so it is very strong in my chart too. And I'm not particularly into committed relationships, so Juno's not sort of my thing, and it all showed up in all my examples. So it's so interesting the different ways that we can look at these things. And I think, Karen, you're going to talk to us about your experiences with Demeter, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's interesting, isn't it? Like what you were saying before, Sarah, with the quizzes and things, we have different levels or different connections with the goddesses. And I don't know about you guys, I've looked back and there have been times when I've felt really, really connected to a particular goddess, like she's really forward in my life. And then like now, I'm just loving Demeter. And I never really know whether I should be saying Demeter or so I just go, yeah. But I am really into permaculture. This is a bit of a thing for me. For me, it's a real spiritual practice because I'm an Aquarian, right? So I think it's very funny. So we've got the Taurian, the Aquarian, and the Leo here. But because I can be so airy and all of that, this connection that I've got with permaculture has really given me permission to get my hands in the dirt. And I got this little, got into building this tiny little house, and I've created a garden from nothing on a very challenging site. And during the whole COVID thing, I went off and I did this permaculture course, which I'd really wanted to do but never had the time for. And apparently at the time I didn't think that what I wanted was that important. But COVID gave me that excuse. So I'm spending my time now really connecting with Demeter through the gardening. You know, I've got beehives here in the garden. I've got 10 chickens who are all named, a couple of puppies, and a big garden that is really way too much for me to manage. And so there are big sections of it that are wild. So dealing with the wildness of it all is quite fun. And yeah, so just a whole thing about the gardening. I'm sort of banging on about it a bit, but it's really got me earthed. And I'm watching with the combination of the bees. I'm watching and I'm noticing what's happening with the seasons, what's flowering, what's not, what do I need to plant now, where is the moon? Now, those are things that I knew about and I intellectually understood and have done for some time. I've, read about them and all of that. But now I'm really living it. And it's made a big change for me. Maybe it's, I've hit a certain number birthday wise, and maybe that's part of it. And I think it's really about coming home. It's like what you were saying before, Robyn. You've connected with Venus so much. She's been your archetype to bring you to your truth. And I think Demeter's really doing the same thing for me, giving me permission to really embrace myself. I mean, a couple of years ago, I had really short hair, and now I've got hair that is grey down below my shoulders. And it's like, I'm just going to keep growing this hair. And I think about that bloody song. I am my mother's daughter. I will not, how does it go? I will not be quiet. I will not cut my hair. And I just think, yes, that's me. It's so interesting. Yeah. So, yeah, I just love the power of the goddess to bring us home to who we are. For me, it's just primo. Yeah. And even just that whole thing about the chapters and the time. I couldn't have really embraced her when I was a young woman, but I can now. And I've got a really big draw to go into the crone goddesses now, yes, the meat, for permission and to own the dark stuff and be a bit wilder. It's really cool. Anyway, yeah, that's my take on her. That's my personal experience with her. Well, how do you guys connect with her?
Very much a beautiful mother archetype, mother of the earth, mother of, goddess, the lushness there goes fitting in with that Venus Taurian talk, the lushness, the richness, the abundance, love of her.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very beautiful, the energy, isn't it? And sort of we talked between ourselves about how triple goddess stuff, and sort of Robyn, you were looking at the maiden with Venus, which I think is where she's mainly focused, and Demeter is definitely the mother, that middle-aged stage of things, and Hecate, who I'm going to look at, is the crone. It's that end of life thing. And it's funny when you come to things, because I probably didn't come to Hecate till I was in my 60s, so it was the perfect time. And I'd always been not honouring my goddess energy. I'd worked in very masculine sort of patriarchal industries. I'd always had to fight because I was a woman, but I'd always managed okay. But then it was the perfect time to get to that last part of life. And I think it's amazing how the goddesses find us. I think we've all got our story of how that happened. But to me, it was just quite literal. I went to an exhibition of paintings from a goddess oracle deck, and the one that was for Hecate, I'd never heard of at that stage, because there's not many myths and things about her. She just spoke to me and demanded that I took her home and used her in my set up a new reading area with her and all this sort of thing. And I was tinkering with astrology at the time. I got quite a lot of Demeter George's books because I was drawn to her work. And I found an ephemeris in one of her books, and I found out that this goddess Hecate, the goddess of the crossroads and transformation, was right on my MC with the top of my chart, which is what you've come here to do, who you want to be seen as, sort of. And I thought, oh shit, I do transformation. I help people with their life purpose. And here I am. I've got the goddess of life purpose right at the top of my chart. This is what I'm aiming to do. This is who I'm aiming to be. So I took a different approach. My Hecate is in Taurus, like your Venus, Robyn. So I've got a bit of an earthy thing to it, but I also wanted to research and find out everything I could about it. So I've researched her, I've written about her, I've talked about her over about 17 or 18 years. And it's very interesting because she's quite often shown as what we're talking about, the three stages. You quite often see statues to Hecate with the maiden space, the mother space, and the crone space, all coming out different ways. And in fact, it's a thing not many people know. She was the inspiration for the Statue of Liberty in America. You know how she's got those spikes coming out of her head? I could show you a picture of Hecate with three heads that's exactly like the face that's on the Statue of Liberty. So she's behind all of those things. And really interestingly, I did a piece about 2 years ago when it was the America's Pluto return. When Pluto came back to the position it was at when America signed the independence and became a country. And she was swearing it, more or less saying, well, you haven't done so well so far. There's lots more here to do. Get on with it. So it's that kind of energy. But I've researched it in charts of people that are involved in witchcraft, divination, healing, and also the environment. So it picks up all of our interests, I think. And that got me into looking at the asteroids. And there's many, many asteroids I could talk about. That's my thing that I can't get enough of. So it's interesting because we're all looking at using this in quite different ways, aren't we? Which is very powerful, I think.
Different yet the same, like different, but it all sort of links in, I think. And I love what you said about Hecate, how she just came to you like boom.
Yeah.
Like.
And synchronicity is such a wonderful thing. I went to Greece. I know you have too, Robyn. I went with Brian Clark, who was the person who Dorical Dex I studied with him in the years after that. And we went to the Acropolis, and we found he didn't even know it was there. We just stumbled on this sanctuary to Hecate in the grounds of the Acropolis. And then he turned to me and he said, "Oh my God, Sara," he said, "it's the day that Hecate does her last supper, the day before the new moon, when it's a dark moon. That's when the people used to put out, offerings to her at the crossroads to sort of bring power and, sort of help settle the people that have passed and all those sorts of things." And I wasn't allowed to stay there for as long as I wanted to. So at the end of the day, I caught the tube back because I had a ticket that lasted for a whole day. And I bought some nuts and things on the way. And I did my own Hecate supper at a sanctuary at the Acropolis. And I just couldn't believe the synchronicity because he didn't plan that either. That's just how it happened, that we were there at the right time. It's just incredible.
That's beautiful.
A higher purpose, that is.
And it was probably using all three of the energies we're talking about because it was with the nature and so on. And I mean, the Acropolis is such a beautiful setting, which is Venus, the beauty of the whole thing. So it really combines all three of those energies together beautifully, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Magical.
And like the Greek counterpart, like the Venus is Aphrodite. Same
Yes.
energies, same energies. Yeah.
Yeah. Lovely, lovely energy.
It's wonderful, isn't it? Like, there's so many ways that we can really move into our femininity, and we can do that in lots of different ways. Powerfully, gently, quietly, loudly, all the ways. Yeah. And they do support us and help us, don't they? We can bring them to life. That's what I love. We can bring them into our lives as though they are living, which is really what you've described, Sara, almost like she called you there on the day to make the offering.
Yeah, it's just incredible. I love to be able to look at the charts of what's happening now and sort of see where which asteroids are where, as astrologers, Robyn, we know what's going on from the planet's point of view, but it's interesting that the asteroids all seem to be a little background information that goes along with it. And I've noticed that Urania, the muse of astrology and astronomy, is very prominent in the charts over this next period, all through Mars's retrograde cycle. So I think we should be paying a lot more attention to what's going on in the stars. I think that's what Urania is pointing out to us. Sort of there's a lot of messages there that we could be looking for.
I think we need to come back to that. When we were talking about, Karen, you mentioned find like ways back to the feminine. Yeah. It's like this is where we are. We need that individuation process now. We're coming into that time, aren't we, where the individuation process is key, who we are, and owning that. And we don't have to, as you say, we don't have to be out
there. No. Yeah, because there's always that beautiful domino effect or the butterfly effect. What we do here in this conversation sends a vibrational frequency out. As we individually bring the feminine into a place of goodness and rightness in us, we make it okay for the people women around us to do that, and the men for that matter, to honour the feminine. Yeah. I don't know if you guys are seeing it in your work. I know I am have been for a while, more and more women are coming with questions and looking for ways to move into their femininity, and their gifts and their psychic abilities are being heightened now. That seems to be a theme.
I think there's a lot of women I'm having come to me that are in that last phase of their life where they've retired or their husband's retired. And there's a lot of people that are actually separating or, things have changed, and then they're trying to work out what's that last stage of life for them, which is, sort of a very testing time, but it's a really beautiful time because they're actually able to put themselves first for the first time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. It's such an incredible time to be alive right now. I'm kind of excited, what's going to happen next. Beautiful.
And I think the more that we are privy to all that we're discussing here, the heightened here we go, the senses are heightened that we are to understand and to know and to, like you said, Sara, your thing, you just got to keep getting it, the asteroids. It's like, what's important to me,
Yeah, that whole thing about living according to our values. It sounds good. It's not always a walk in the park to actually do that, but it's like we are drawn more and more to do that now. It's like the collective is to it now. That's the sense.
And you just have to stick with what you love. I had a lot of people poo-pooed, they're only little bits of rock in the sky, and to me, it's not the size of the planetary body, it's the size of the archetype. And, you're going to tell Pluto that he's not big enough to be a planet anymore. Hello. It's just crazy the way science got that dominating thing that you've got to prove the size and how important something is, when it's the energy that it brings that is the important thing, isn't it?
It all comes from Carl Jung's archetypal energies that he talked about, isn't it, in psychology? It's just like, this isn't new. What archetype you choose might be, whether you're doing tarot or whether you're doing, but I think it's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
It has, for sure.
Ladies, we could probably talk forever and ever, I reckon. We probably should cut it short and catch up another time.
Yeah.
That would be lovely. It's been really great connecting with you too. And we're all bringing something a little bit different to meld together, aren't we?
And thanks to everyone who's been listening, sitting in with us, hopefully with a glass of champagne, if you're Venusian, or
cheers,
or something else. And we'll catch you another time.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Lightwork Women. If you'd like to find out more about any of the guests on our show and our practitioners, visit our website, lightworkwomen.com. Until next time, thanks for listening.